I bet you are already writing down in the comments, telling me why I'm wrong, telling me how dumb I am and how stupid my take is, but no, I'm not going back on this one. In this video, I am going to explain to you how removing supply drops from Call of Duty actually killed the game. No, you didn't hear me wrong, but at the same time, it's also probably not what you think. So put away your rage caps, stop typing for a second, and wait to hear what I have to say, because this is something I want to do a little bit more on the channel with a little thing called hot takes. So in this hot take in particular, we're going to be looking at supply drops, how they were implemented in the game, how they became what they were, why they got removed, and how removing them was a huge negative and huge downside for Call of Duty, which nobody is talking about. But to understand this, we got to go back in time. August 11th, 2014, we get the multiplayer reveal trailer for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and immediately we realize this game is different. People are flying through the air, lasers are going everywhere, and everything is different. But one of the biggest differences about this game that was to come out in 2014 wasn't actually in the movement, the weapons, the maps, or anything in between. It would come at 1 minute and 12 seconds into that trailer. And in that trailer, in the bottom of the screen, right in the middle, we would see a logo for something called a supply drop. It would say supply drops unlocked. This would be something that would change Call of Duty forever. You see, the way that these would work is essentially about every 30 minutes in game, or about every third game that you played, you would be given a supply drop. They were completely free, and in fact, you could not buy them. When you were to open one, it would give you 1 to 3 items that could be a cosmetic item that you could equip on your soldier, or it could be an item that was game changing. Like, for example, a weapon variant. Some of the most popular were the ASM-1 Speakeasy, or the BAL-27 Obsidian Steed, or the one that I still to this day don't have, the HBRA-3 Insanity. Now, this for the first time added something brand new to Call of Duty, because before this, we had our player level to grind for or go through prestiges, we had weapon camos to unlock, but now there was something new to grind for. There was essentially an unlimited amount of items that you could earn completely through RNG, making it almost a looter shooter as well as an RPG first-person shooter where you level up, unlock things. And again, what this did is it increased player retention, because you would do the thing where you would say, well, I'll just play until I get one more supply drop, and then you wouldn't get what you wanted, and okay, one more. And you'd find yourself playing for hours just to try to get that next item, therefore increasing the amount of time you could play. Also, as I mentioned, you couldn't buy them, which meant the only way to get these things was to play the game. Play it, not spend money on it. But of course, just like anything else in the world where there is a way to make money, they are going to try to. And by March 3rd of 2015, everything would change, because now it was no longer just supply drops. There was a little thing called advanced supply drops. And now, instead of just earning these things, you could spend money, a lot of money, to now get a slot machine. So with the introduction of paid for supply drops, a lot of things changed. Mainly, they added a lot more in. More weapon variants and more weapons. Weapons you could only earn through the supply drops, not through leveling up your character in game or anything like that, which meant you either had to earn a lot of these in game with a high amount of playtime with a small chance of getting them, or you could spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to try to unlock them. They also added in more skins, more items for your character, which essentially filled out these supply drops, giving you a lower chance of unlocking these things. The second they added a paid for option for these, the way that they worked got worse and worse and worse. The way that Activision saw it is it wasn't like that. It was a way to print money for free with very little work put into it. And lo and behold, in the next Call of Duty game, Black Ops 3, supply drops would make a return. But this time they added even more items inside them. Specialist taunts, gestures, paint shop emblems, calling cards, emblems, decals, attachment variants, specialist gear, camos, which was kind of cool, I will admit that one, reticles, and finally, the last thing, weapons. But the problem is the amount of weapons that would drop were a similar or lower drop rate than everything else, meaning you needed a ton of these to get them. They also implemented a new thing called crypto keys. These were earnable in game, and then you could buy supply drops with them, or you could just buy crypto keys for Call of Duty points. As you can see, a bunch of different in-game currencies. Now, throughout the year of Black Ops 3, as things would come out, it would get more and more egregious, and people would have a tough time getting any of these new weapons. And to actually get them on the day of release, people were spending thousands and thousands of dollars, similar to a slot machine. Now, eventually they would implement some things to make it a little bit easier to earn specific items, like for example, triple play, big box bundles, or grand slams, or basically creating salvage and ways to go directly for the weapons. Most of this would happen after the game's life cycle, but we would see other games push further towards that direction. By the way, Black Ops 3 was by far the most egregious for getting people to pay money for these just to get individual weapons. Infinite Warfare would go in a direction closer to Advanced Warfare, where earning weapon variants would be the way to go. However, there were a lot of them, and these variants, if you were to use them, would give you XP bonuses, things like that, and there were stat changing bonuses on the individual variants of weapons. There was also a bunch of different items that you could find in between, but on top of that, there were these things called hacks, various different types of hacks that would give you direct items that you were grinding for. There was also salvage, which you could salvage your duplicates and then use that salvage to buy individual items, therefore giving you ways to go more directly for an individual item, variant, or even a score streak variant, which were only available through supply drops as well, through something called the Quartermaster. It was better than Black Ops 3's, more consumer friendly, but still many considered it to be like a slot machine. So then we had the best of all of them, which included Call of Duty World War II, as well as Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. For this one, it would work because they would have different types of supply drops, which would be related to in-game events. So for example, the Resistance event had Resistance supply drops, and then based off of the type of supply drop you were opening, they would have categories of items that you could choose to unlock with armory credits or depot credits. So in other words, you could choose to go for exact items if you wanted to work that way, making it so you could buy supply drops, but at the same time, you could also grind your way just playing the game, not purchasing them. But yeah, there was still like a huge benefit to still buying supply drops, and they were still based off of RNG. So basically, supply drops, ever since they introduced the ability to purchase them, quickly became slot machines. So if these were slot machines, if these were things that kids should not be using, why do I say it killed Call of Duty in removing them? Well, the answer's a little bit complex. First things first, the reason why supply drops got removed from Call of Duty is, number one, there were some laws passed where game designers would actually have to show the earn rates of specific items in game. And some of these earn rates were like 0.1%. Therefore, less people would want to buy them. Other countries tried to make these loot boxes and supply drops completely illegal. Therefore, they would have to have different types of games in different countries, and the development of that wouldn't be worth it in the long run. So eventually, these completely got removed. We'll come back to that part in a second. But what the supply drops added in was an RNG element that added to player retention, making you want to play just one more game to earn one more supply drop for a chance to get one more item. The problem came in when you had to pay for them. Now, when these were removed, they were replaced with a brand new system in a game called Modern Warfare 2019. This was the reboot of the Modern Warfare franchise, and it was replaced with two things. Number one, battle passes, and number two, bundles. This would be made ultra popular by the game that was hugely popular and still is at the time, which is Fortnite. Now, with this, they would slowly ramp up not just the price, but the amount of bundles in the game. We're at a point right now where every basically second day, there is a new bundle added into Black Ops 6 and Warzone. The major difference between the supply drop era and today's era is all of those items that were in game in supply drops, there was a potential to earn them for free. Whereas the items that are in game now with bundles or even battle pass are impossible to get for free. Now here is where the problem comes in, and here is why I say it ruined Call of Duty. Where when they put supply drops in, it gave you RNG and something to grind for. Recently, we had an event called the Return to Verdansk event, where when you opened a vault on the map, there was a certain percentage chance that it would give you an in-game item. That is the most rallied I've seen the community around an event maybe ever, because number one, it was RNG, you were grinding for something, and it increased player retention for the first time in a very, very long time. The problem comes in where this wasn't replaced with anything. There wasn't a new way of earning items. There was challenges, there was camos, and things that were already in the game, but there was nothing to replace the RNG of supply drops or grinding for something over and over again with the chance of earning it. There was no longer anything along those lines whatsoever, and it wasn't replaced with any further grind or deeper challenges, or the events that we got were simply play the game, get XP, or pick some stuff off the ground, and eventually you will earn some items. There was no excitement, there was not that huge dopamine release, and hence why I say when supply drops were removed, they killed Call of Duty. It was never replaced with anything, and nothing else has been there to this day. But here's the thing, it wasn't the supply drops getting removed that actually killed this aspect. The thing that killed this aspect was the monetization in the first place. And it just goes to show that no matter what they put in, whether it's battle passes, bundles, or supply drops, they will find the way to pry the most amount of money out of people and put those monetization features over the gameplay experience and player retention itself. So that's why I say the removal of supply drops was the beginning of the downfall of this era of Call of Duty. Let me know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is this a dumb take? Or maybe let me know down in the comments a take you would like to see me defend, do a documentary style thing like this on, or anything in between down in the comments. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you disagree, have at it in the comments. Until next time, peace.